I've had a rough week. Practically every person I've met up here has tried to kill me.
I'm simply going to harvest your organs.
No. Wait. Welcome back to another End Cut movie review. Today we have Fallout, the TV show, and this should be the benchmark for all video game adaptations. Now let's jump into the review. I've marked it on your map.
The show starts 200 years after the bombs have fallen. Lucy is the player character. Lucy is the vault dweller that you are in the game, and she is raised up in Vault 33, and she's completely naive to the world because she's only known the vault, and then things happen and she has to leave the vault to traverse the wasteland, and that is pretty much how the game starts in all the games you've played, except for Fallout New Vegas, which might I add is the best Fallout. Controversial opinion.
You're goddamn right.
And facing different challenges throughout the wasteland, like you would exactly in the game. Now, you also see the perspective of the wasteland through the eyes of Maximus, who is a Brotherhood of Steel squire. Then we see the world through the eyes of a third character, who is Walton Goggins' character, Ghoul, or Cooper Howard, who he was before the bombs fell. And we find out he's 200 years old, and he's a ghoul being completely irradiated. And we see how the wasteland has essentially changed him over the 200 years, and it's become the Wild Wild West, and the guy's just heartless, the guy has no emotions, and he's an absolute killer with the VATS. If you've played the games, you know what that is. And the way that the show is able to world build while still making it feel like the video game is absolutely outstanding. You at multiple times in this show feel exactly how you would in the game. And you really feel like you're Lucy undertaking a quest just like you would in the game, and seeing the way that she maneuvers through the wasteland and uses her different, I guess, charisma skills, different survival skills, different luck skills, and you can sort of see how her character was built on the different attributes that she has. And the TV show is just a great adaptation. The world they built in this show is just spot on. I don't know about you guys listening to this, but for me, as a avid Fallout fan, I watched this with absolute glee, because I saw exactly what I imagined a TV show like this would be about. When you've had so many games that this is based upon, you think to yourself, they surely can't stuff this up. We saw it stuffed up with Halo. You always sort of go into these adaptations a little bit uneasy, but the guys at Amazon Prime knocked this out of the park. It is an outstanding adaptation. From the opening sequence where we have Nat King Cole's Orange Coloured Sky, which if you're familiar with the games, you would know that that is played all the time on the radio.
Flash, bang, alakazam, wonderful you.
With a nuke going off in the background, Mushroom Cloud style. It just sets the scene for what is going to be a great adaptation, and it just puts you immediately in the feelings of the courier from Fallout New Vegas, or from the player character in Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 or Fallout 2, whichever one you've grown up with or known.
So I'm coming from a little bit of a different angle on this. I think that if you haven't played or even watched or even seen a clip of the game, and you're a complete newbie to this TV show, you will still find this super enjoyable. The ability for Prime to also work with Bethesda to be able to create a world and build characters so quickly that allow you to get attached to them was absolutely immaculate. And as a person who is new to the TV show, you can easily create your own ideas and your own conclusions pretty quickly and pretty easily. And you'll enjoy it because the character building is so immaculately done.
Straight out of the gate, this TV show is fun. There's plenty of callbacks to the games. There's plenty of little Easter eggs that you find on the screen. From the instance, you see on the tabletop in the opening scene of the TV show, a little Grognak the Barbarian magazine, which if you're familiar with the game, you would know that that's a little call out that you always see in the game floating around the wasteland. And that right there shows you that the creators of this Amazon Prime have really taken the time out to say, okay, we're going to give this video game, which is so big, so enormous around the world, we're going to give it the respect that it deserves, and also not try and come up with new things that, you know, we might think works in the TV. No, we're going to go exactly with what the fans want to see, with what the fans paid to see. We want the Fallout games to be built on the TV screen. Yeah, they can create their own sort of narrative, they can create their own storyline, which they do in this, which is cool. That has a sort of fresh take. They haven't copied any of the storylines of the game. There's little bits and pieces that are similar, but they haven't really copied anything, and yet also still make it feel authentic and like we really are in the Fallout world, which they did perfectly like this.
The callbacks were very interesting throughout this. I noticed within literally the first 2 episodes, I referenced sugar bombs, okay, the greatest food to eat in the wasteland of all time. Grognak on the TV when the kids were sitting down to watch it. There was reference to stim packs when Lucy gets stabbed and she hits a stim pack to go back up to 100 HP. That was a great little insight to have, because that's exactly what you do in the games as well. And there was even a reference to the dog. In this TV show, he's called CX404, but we do know him as Dogmeat in the games, and even the ghoul name drops that outside the famous Red Rocket gas station where you are even introduced into Dogmeat when you first start playing Fallout 4. That's when you get him as a companion. And let me just say, Bethesda are the lore-building masters, and they pay so much respect to all the work that they've done before, and that's pretty obvious in this series. They didn't even have to do that because this is set in 2296, 2297, after the Great War. So everything in the game has already happened. And if you are confused, like I was when watching this series, because I was under the assumption that this was sometime during Fallout 4, but no, it is almost a decade after Fallout 4. So if you've come in with this presupposition that it's near there, I'm sorry to tell you, you're just flat out wrong.
The plot of this TV show, while it has similarities to some of the other games, is actually really fresh. And there's certain aspects of it that you just wouldn't have expected at all. And I really enjoy the way that they've gone down that route, and they haven't just gone with the usual route of like, oh, it's a faction here and it's a faction there and you've got to choose which one you want to... No, they've gone a completely different route, which sort of catches you off guard and keeps you hooked right until the end. The ending of this season is perfect. It leaves you wanting so much more, and when those credits roll on the final episode, you think to yourself, damn, now I'm going to have to wait a year or 2 years or 3 years or however long I have to wait for the next episode. And I think that is the hallmark of a great TV show, of great writing and of building up a world perfectly in the first season of anything, really.
I agree with that, but on the other hand, I do enjoy the week-to-week schedule that some other TV shows, such as like Invincible has, for instance, that they release week to week, so every person is up to date. It allows everyone to keep talking about it, and it keeps getting run through any YouTube channel, any reviewer. They talk about it episode to episode. I actually prefer that, I think, over than a massive chunk being released straight away, and now we have to wait a full year. I think I watched this whole TV show in a night, and now I have to wait another year, 2 years maybe to see this. At least if it was a week-to-week basis, I could maybe, now I have 8 weeks to fully watch it and be immersed and maybe talk about it for 8 weeks, and that kind of keeps the hype train around it just for that little bit longer. But it is what it is. I still enjoyed it regardless.
I think that's what's sort of lost in this stream-heavy world that we live in now, where everybody wants everything now, everybody wants to binge watch stuff now, which of course we all love that, because then who doesn't love a binge watch? But you lose a lot of anticipation when you know that a season's going to be released all in one go. I think back to when Game of Thrones was coming out week by week, the build-up and the anticipation for each episode to come out was through the roof. I mean, I know Game of Thrones is a hard reference because, I mean, it was one of the biggest shows of all time, but you do lose that aspect when you release these shows all at the same time in one chunk. But the distributors are in a tough situation because it's like people want everything all at once and they want to have everyone watching all at once. So it's like they can't really win either way, especially when it's the first season. I think now a lot of production companies are afraid that if they release one episode at a time, that no one's going to really that the show's not going to really build traction because people are impatient, which it's a double-edged sword for them. They release it all at once, everyone wants to watch it, they release it week by week, they run the risk that the momentum doesn't really build on the TV show. So I agree with Josh in that aspect, that it loses that sort of edge that it has. But that being said, I still binge watch the hell out of this show and I loved every second of it.
I'll be waiting for that fucking Deathclaw at my door. That's where I'll be waiting.
Some aspects of the show that were just spot on. Sound effects. The Pip-Boy sound effects were incredible. They literally took them straight out of the game. Couldn't be more happy about that. The Pip-Boy display. Unbelievable. It's such a small detail, but when you think about how big the Pip-Boy is to you in the game, the fact that they put so much time and effort and also respect into what the Pip-Boy really looked like, amazing. And I want one of those Pip-Boys. Where the hell do I get a goddamn Pip-Boy like that from? The T60 armor, the Brotherhood of Steel armor, the noises, the way it moves, the sound, the strength and absolute ferocity of it was so spot on. The only thing I found a little bit odd was how far Maximus could throw a rock in the armor. I don't think that's possible in the game at all. I know it's strong, but it's not that strong. But their ability to mimic that from the game to the TV show, amazing. The vault layout, spot on. That is exactly how I imagined a vault would look like. It's how it looks like in the game. The pre-nuke world is exactly how you would imagine, because this game is set in the 1950s, and then once the bombs fall, a lot of the characters are still sort of in that 1950s mindset, and they got that absolutely spot on. The futuristic 1950s, where they've got like the cool cars, they've got the robots that do the work for them, they've got the cool sort of futuristic TVs, was all spot on. The props department, the special effects department, the makeup department, all of them deserve their props because they did an outstanding job of mimicking the Fallout game.
This is just a little bit fastidious from me. Listen, jetpack was the hardest thing for me to get in Fallout 4, and you're telling me this motherfucker gets it in the first 10 seconds of him getting to an armor? Okay, fair enough, it is what it is, but that's the only thing that pissed me off. When I was sitting here watching the TV show, I thought, you know how long it took me to get a jetpack? I want this jetpack, I will do anything for it, I will get level 4 mechanics, level 4 armorer. I'll do the whole lot. But listen, that's the only little thing, and it didn't really matter.
And I think Walton Goggins' character was sort of the perfect emulation of your character when you get way too strong towards the end of the game and you just one-shot everyone and you just got the VATS on 100. Everyone knows what it feels like to be maxed out on all your attributes, walking around with VATS and just one-shotting everyone. And I feel like Walton Goggins' character was perfectly written to represent that. And I felt that watching his character. And I think that's a testament, once again, to the writing of this show. For me, the standout episode was episode 4. Watching that episode, I felt that was the perfect rendition of the Fallout game. It felt like I was going on a journey, on a quest with Lucy in that episode, and the different aspects of the quest I felt was spot on to the game.
One thing that I think people might be taken back by if you're a first-time watcher, if you played all the games or any of the games, you know that how brutal some of the kills are and what you're able to do to some of these characters, these NPCs. If you're a newbie, you will be pleasantly surprised that it's nothing like these other TV shows where they don't show you the kills, they don't show you the ghouls getting feral and eating people. Seeing that on screen, not thinking it will happen, was a great surprise, and I'm glad that they went down that route of realism compared to these other TV shows and actually immersed us into the TV show, which felt like the game.
One aspect of the show that sort of caught me off guard, but I'm all for it, and it was actually a really welcome addition to the show, was how funny the show was. The comedic timing in certain episodes from certain characters was really, really good. I wasn't expecting this show to be completely serious all the time, because that's not what Fallout is, but the humor in it was absolutely needed, especially when you're watching a show where there's guts flying around, where there's gore, where there's heavy sort of topics on it. The humor in it was hilarious. And I guess when you have a great comedic actor like Matt Berry, who's been in so many funny British shows on the show, it shouldn't really be surprising that it is filled with so much humor. But I thought that was one aspect that the writers really, really, really should be praised for. How funny it was, but also how the humor wasn't overdone or too silly like you see in like the Thors or the Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff. It was the perfect amount of humor that was needed, and that was another way that the show was able to immerse you completely in this world, because it felt real, and I loved that aspect of it. The soundtrack of this TV show is 10 out of 10. One gripe: how many Johnny Cash songs can they fit in to one TV show? I know Johnny Cash was big in the 50s and the 60s, but there's more artists than him. Aside from that, the radio on the soundtrack is just immaculate, and that's one of the biggest things in Fallout. The radio, it just sets the tone for the world that you're in, and the TV show did it perfectly. I was scared that they were going to try and, I don't know, reinvent the wheel or do something else that wasn't to the game's standard, but they didn't. They went with the tracks that we are so known for in this game, and it was just another way that they were able to immerse you perfectly in this world. I'm sure you can probably tell, but there's not really a lot of bad things to say about this show from us, because it just did a perfect job of putting on the screen exactly what we wanted to see.
Anyway, guys, we've got to wrap this review up, and I'm going to rate this probably, for a TV show, a high 95%. I don't believe in 100%, but if I could, this might be the one to give 100% on. But I'm going to give 95 for just a bit of wiggle room I haven't even thought of yet, because we're fresh off the TV show. But this was one of the best adaptations of a game to a screen that I've seen in years. Now, Halo, as we mentioned at the start, didn't do well. Last of Us did pretty good. It was pretty good. There's mixed reviews on Last of Us, but this is probably one of the most outstanding TV show adaptations we've seen, and it just did everything right. All the way down to the minuscule look of certain things, just the little Easter eggs, chucking in sugar bombs, chucking in grognak, and then other things just like the little details of having the same bear, having the same German Shepherd. They could have done a completely different dog if they wanted to, but they're paying respect to all the world that Bethesda has built, and I just have to give them their flowers. Everyone, as Geordie has said, from the makeup department to the production department to the directing department to the acting, all of it played an amazing part. This is just a TV show that needs to be watched. If you are a fan, if you're not a fan, go watch this. You will fall in love. And if you are not a fan, watch this, and you might want to go play the games. You might want to put thousands and thousands of hours like we all have into these games now. So yeah, it's going to be a high 95. I'm going to say 95%. I would give it 100 if I could.
My rating for this TV show, I reckon, would be about 90 to 100%. If you could give something 100%, I'd be close to wanting to give this 100%. I found it incredible. I found myself just so happy and full of joy watching this show. Nostalgia was just unreal. The ability of the show to make me just want to play the games immediately after watching it was through the roof. Like as soon as the show finished, I re-downloaded Fallout 4. Like this is a show that everyone, especially lovers of the game, has to watch.
Anyway, guys, it's been another End-Cut movie review. Do not forget to like and subscribe. If you did like it, put a thumbs up. If you didn't, put a dislike.
Question of the day: which is your favourite Fallout? For me, it's got to be Fallout New Vegas. The storyline, everything about that game, perfection. The setting, perfection.
Mine has to be Fallout 4. And also, which faction did you choose if you did play Fallout 4? I'd love to know that as well. So write that down in the comments, please. Anyway, guys, peace, we out.
Peace.
And cut. And by the way...
except the world